Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of No Vacancy. Not so live because we're recording this at the opening of the first ever Everhome Suites here in Corona, California. And celebrate this momentous occasion with me, I got Anna Scozzafava and Ron Burgett. How are you guys? Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. Congratulations. How exciting is it for you two, after all of this time, to finally get the first one of these open out?
I mean, it is a huge milestone for the brand. We've been working on this for years, so to see it come to life and, not just on the screen and pictures and to actually be able to touch and feel and see the room and experience it, it is just a huge milestone. We couldn't be more excited.
Well, I've been touching and feeling the room for the last couple of nights, but I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in that way. But Ron, what are your impressions on this?
Well, you know what? It's been 4 or 5 years. I mean, 5 years when we probably first started talking about it, and then it's been a long time coming, but it feels great to be here. And right after this, we're just going to have an explosion of growth momentum coming in. So we're really happy. I'm in touch and feel it, like you said. Now's the time.
Sure. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what's exciting to me, and if you all caught my special report that I aired last week on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, NoVacancyNews.com, you know where to find them. You already know that 35% of all hotels expected to be under construction in the next year are in the extended stay category. It's really redefining how important this segment is. And you folks took the opportunity with the white space you have to find a product that's now a level higher than the WoodSpring Suites product that has brought you a lot of success. Before you were Choice Hotels, then with Choice Hotels, and now you have this another tool in your arsenal. How does this play into your overall strategy going forward?
I can take the first one here. And I'll tell you what, mid-scale was something we wanted to get into a long time ago. So I think we've really done really well with WoodSpring Suites. Obviously, we own, I think, economy extended stay, and I think our franchisees know that. But mid-scale was something that we knew our guests wanted, and we knew the developers would jump right on board, and they have. So it's something that I think if you really think about Choice Hotels and who we are, we're a big company, right? We have 7,500 hotels, but we haven't played a lot in mid-scale, extended stay. So this kind of joins all the other brands that we have in mid-scale. So we think our Choice Privileges members and those that stay at our hotels will really embrace this.
And with all the challenges of getting this property open, I don't mean construction challenges, I mean world challenges that we had over the last couple of years. It's great to see so much confidence in this brand. You've already got 50 deals in place in various stages of construction or in early planning. 10 in all from Paladin, the people that built this, with another 21 from Service Star Management that you announced last week or 2 weeks ago when this is airing from the lodging conference. That must make you feel pretty good as the SVP who's in charge of making sure people sign these deals.
Yeah, well, that's right. We need to get them inked, which we did get that done. And the other thing was it's coast to coast.
Right.
So it wasn't like, I mean, this is Southern California. We have 10 with Paladin Group. Obviously, they're the experts in this area. They're big developers, and we're happy to have them. But now we've done some things in Florida, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. So that's the area that we've already inked, and those are coming soon. So we're excited about that. And Bozeman, Montana.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me invite me to the opening of that. I've never been to Bozeman before. It's on my list. But he couldn't do his job without you overseeing and shepherding this brand into existence. What is it that you were feeling that consumers were looking for in this particular segment that this brand is able to offer?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time actually with consumers and guests and doing a ton of research to understand what is it that our guests actually want. We're on the road for 30 days, 60 days. And a lot of what they want is to be able to keep their routine. So they want spaces that they can eat, sleep, work. They want to be able to move the room around so it fits where they are and their stay and their journey, right? They want to be able to cook. They want the full kitchen. They don't want to go out for every single meal. So I think the real kind of ahas for us too were washer and dryers in our one-bedroom suites, right? It's a really premium.
Yeah, it's one right over there. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? So if you're on the road for 30 days, you don't want to go down to the laundry room every day and do that. So it's just little things like that we learned along the way from our guests. I think it created a really special brand for us.
I also don't want people to see my underoos that I got little tags so they match with the rest of my outfits. So I'm pretty proud of that. But and like I said, I've been here for the last couple of days, and I got a chance to really give this place a test drive and feel it. One of the things that I noticed, and it might seem innocuous, but for people that travel a lot, you spent money putting lights in the ceiling. So this prototype allows for that. To me, that really transforms it from a hotel experience to a more residential experience. It was able to, I know it sounds kind of hokey, but it was able to transport me into more feeling like I was at home because it really mimicked the way that I want to live at home, plus certain other elements that we'll talk about in a second. So what was it like thinking about through some of those details to make it more homey than hotel-y?
Yeah, I mean, so we spent a lot of time going through design and many iterations, and also we actually built a prototype room out in Wichita with our partners for Bowman, so that we could actually go out and test things and say, does this make sense? Is this really what I would want to do if I was in this?
By the way, it is federal law. If you're doing extended stay, you must build something in Wichita.
It's the birthplace.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
When you got comedy gold, you gotta go.
You know that.
Sorry.
No. So we spent a ton of time, I think, thinking through that, and then also even just thinking through the colors, the palettes. You know, to your point, the lighting. How big is the closet? What does the bathroom sink look like? If you're staying for a long time, you want to be able to unload all of your stuff on the sink, so it's all set. So there's a ton of little details that we put in there that really, I think, meet what the consumers and the guests who are staying for a long time are really looking for.
Yeah, so let's take a look. I've got some slides over here so we can see what the property looks like. Here's the outside of where we are right now here in Corona, California. Ron, tell me a little bit about what you all were going for when it comes to the curb appeal of the property.
Yeah, so this project here was ideal for visibility. So what you can't see, obviously, from that picture, it's on the other side of there is the highway. We're right at...
That's why people took pictures going that way.
Yeah, there you go. We're at a V right on the other side.
By the way, my room overlooks the highway, cannot hear a single peep.
Right. By design.
Very important.
By design. And one thing that I'd like to add that Anna just said in this property here, we spent a lot of time, like I said, too long. At the end of the day, designing this thing, but we brought the developers in too early on. So when we got all the plans done, we took the developers and said, hey, what do you think about this? So we've had people with a lot of experience, especially our Woodspring owners that have been doing this for a long time, look at these plans too and say, this is what we like. And we spent, a good year actually back and forth with these guys to help us design this thing. So we've got a lot of help, obviously. But overall, we thought, first of all, California, I don't know how many people drive by here every day, 60 to 7,000 people on that highway.
I think there's 45,000 right now.
Right? There you go. So, this was a great launch for us. Corona, California, where else do you want to be? It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So going inside to the building, here's a two-queen room. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing there. I think what strikes me most is the floors. It's really terrific to see how far LVT has come. It really feels and espouses like, oh, I'm wood, love me, and it really elevates the whole experience.
Absolutely, and again by design, but also easy to clean for extended stay for our operators, right? So it always has that dual purpose. So let's start in the back. So the window back there's actually blackout shades. So it's important depending if you're a traveling nurse or a construction.
Well, take a look right here. We're blacked out.
That's right. So that was really important, and it's important to our guests. What you're also seeing is really functional design in terms of how the lamps are placed and that they're up off so that you have space for anything that you want to put next to the bed. The next thing that you really see is a ton of storage we built on that wall cabinet. And then, I don't know if you can see it very well, but under the desk is actually a desk that pulls out and can roll around, and you can put it wherever you need to while you're using the room.
I'm sorry for surfing down the hallways last night. I couldn't help myself. But
went out there to eat, right?
Right, but for me, I've been working here while also having a chance to relax. And what I found with the desk is I was able to pull it out. I was able to have my laptop there, and I was able to, using the QR code on the screen, connect my content to the screen. So I was able to watch whatever silly show I was watching at the time on that big screen while doing some work on my laptop, while also having room to eat some takeout, because there's some great restaurants, by coincidence, right here in this shopping center. Kind of here for Habit Burger people.
And Starbucks right there.
The Starbucks was great when I was there at 6 a.m. There's a great Indian restaurant. I hit the Chinese restaurant last night. I had dinner with Lisa, the general manager, is absolutely fantastic over here. So it's been really terrific. So well thought out, and thank you for putting an actual desk chair in that. That allowed me to be productive for a lot of hours and just feel like I was working from home.
Absolutely.
That means a lot to us, just as much as you travel. You get to a lot of guest rooms, so
and
we're very happy.
And the other thing, I don't know if we can see it really clearly here. We'll talk about the little hanging out space, but you can notice the shelving that's there. I found that to be very clever. Now, I'm only here for 3 nights, but I can extrapolate that, and I'm staying, a month or whatever it is. That's a very convenient space. I found it was great to put all of my items there. I have rules, like I'm sure you do when you're in hotels. Things go in very specific places to lower the forgetting factor, right? Every once in a while, I still do it, and it's embarrassing. But the shelves really made it easy for me to see everything, and I could picture family photos, all that kind of stuff up there as well.
100%. We actually have a family in house right now that's staying in our 1-bedroom suite with a connecting room.
Cool.
And so they've been able to use that space really well between the kids and their, so having that shelving, I think, is actually a huge benefit to your point of being able to have it look like home, feel like home, there's stuff there.
Yeah, so I'm like the story that I'm seeing is it's kind of like all of these little things that add up to tell the entire story, make you feel the entire story of feeling like you're never home, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the couch area, because for me, my personal experience, I love even though the divider is small, it really creates a differentiation between the spaces, and it allowed me to kind of hang out and, again, watch that TV if I wanted to, or just read something on my iPad.
That was really important to our guests, was having segmented spaces and making sure that there was a separate place to sleep, a separate place to play, so to speak, and a separate place to eat in the kitchen. So one of the things that we did while we were designing this is we still wanted the room to feel open and big, so that partition that you see purposefully has a pattern, but is open, so it still allows all the light to come through and allows you to have kind of that bigger feeling within the room. But then having a full-size couch, having that movable piece of furniture that you're seeing down there is also, I think, great. You can move it out of the way if you want to move the desk over, and you can work, or you could, put your feet up. It's really multifunctional.
Yeah, and just to add, we value engineered the heck out of this thing.
Oh, sure.
So one thing that Anna did was put one of these rooms, like in prototype, at our fulfillment warehouse in Wichita. You mentioned Wichita. And so at that time, we could decide how big do we want that. And again, we were looking at costs. I mean, one thing I want to make sure we designed this for guests, but also for owners. And it's really critical that this thing, that cash flow is similar to what we were doing with our Woodspring brand. That's really what we did.
So we're recording this in a 1-bedroom. I'm in a king. I don't know if you have a picture of the king. This is the 1-bedroom. All right, so this is the king in the 1-bedroom. That's the lobby. All right, let me go back to this picture over here. Just picture I have the king bed in my room. I don't know. I think the footprint is probably similar to the 2 queens. I don't know offhand, but I found out I felt that the room was appropriately sized. Sometimes I'm very fortunate. I get in these hotels, I get in these big rooms, and it just feels like I'm lost in space. But a lot of the trends that I've seen more recently, not in extended stay, is to keep shrinking the rooms, and then I feel a little claustrophobic. I don't know how you did it, but it really hit that right balance between feeling not too big, not too small. I did feel like Goldilocks. It was just right for me.
Again, spent a lot of time with the size of that sofa there, that wall. We wanted it to feel open when you walked in. Hopefully it did.
It did.
But yet that room's not overly big. I mean, it's, again, we designed these things to, we're put 114 guest rooms in a hotel room. And in a hotel. And that, to get that on a 2-acre site, we had to be efficient. But yet, I do agree with you. I think the room feels big, and it's big enough.
And that's the whole point, right? You got to meet both needs, and I think the developers are going to be satisfied with that because it gets the cost down if you have all that extra space that guests at the end of the day probably don't need, even in an extended stay scenario. So there's another way of looking at the shelving and the desk. That's a really great picture. That couch is phenomenal as well. And I noticed in the 1-bedrooms, they also open up. So, if you have additional people, you could sleep in there as well.
We get 20, 30 people in there.
Listen, I'm throwing a party. I'll count.
There you go.
We'll see. Because Lisa said I could grab some stuff from downstairs.
So there you go. Feel free.
And our awesome market.
So now we're taking a look at the lobby, and for all of you that are listening on the audio feed, I assure you, I will put a link to the slideshow in that feed so you can get access to it. Now again, the lobby, it could have been really huge, but again, it just feels right size. It feels more intimate, and I think to me that says it's more of the homey feeling as opposed to a giant utilitarian room.
Yeah, I think too when you have travelers that are staying for long periods of time, you're not necessarily going to see them hanging out in the lobby, right? And they told us that, but they do want a space to potentially get away for just a little bit. So we wanted to make sure that, as to Ron's point, that we're making this hotel as efficient as possible. And so really, I think a lot of the costs and where we spent and really thought about the details of what these guests want is in the room. Because that's where they're going to be for a long period of time. So while we built the lobby to be homey, and to your point, to be intimate, it was purposely sized not to be overly large. And we've seen that in a lot of different hotels, and you go in and you travel a lot. I mean, they're empty, nobody's hanging out in the lobby.
And it's kind of, and again, it's a place we have to strike that right balance because you want to, as the industry parlance goes, activate the lobby and stuff like that. But if you have one person at a laptop in a giant room, then it just feels weird and it doesn't bring people in to kind of create that community vibe.
Right. Yeah, in mid-scale we expect that, right? Most of our Wood Springs log is a little bit smaller, although this is a 2.5 bay right here, a typical size. Our Wood Spring, we have less people kind of hanging out. It's just a different customer base, but at mid-scale we think we're going to have people that want to spread a little bit and do what you just said, kind of get their laptop.
And thinking about how this property is going to be sold, what's interesting to me is I learned that there's a Wood Spring a couple of miles down the road, I believe, right? So,
well, and it's not there yet, it's breaking ground.
It's breaking ground, my apologies.
Like 2 days.
Right, so the overall strategy is going to be, to sell both properties in tandem with each other, maybe supervisors are in one hotel and then the line folks in construction or whatever at the Wood Spring property. And I think that gives gives those owners a reason to build 2 different types of properties within that same segment. So let's talk a little bit about what you're thinking about the fundamentals and why this is, in your opinion, such a good deal for the investment community.
Well, one of the things we did, as we do with Wood Spring every day, is we evaluate and we evaluate. We look at the P&Ls. Choice Hotels has always been this way. We look at return on investment for our owners, but particular to extended stay, it's so critical. And we deal with a lot of institutional investors or family office folks, people that typically aren't hotel operators. So in order to do that and to be able to articulate what we're trying to do here, we had to really look at from the numbers of return on investment down. So we really started with, as we start looking at this, we looked at, okay, we wanted to see an investment, a return on investment, a GOP of over 50%.
Right.
So how do we do that? So then but yet mid-scale, right? We want to be able to keep the rates higher than our Wood Spring. So what we did was we really started there. So, and every single thing we did, everything we added, everything we value engineered, we looked back at the P&L to see what do we think that did. So if you think about a couple of years of that, and then we had COVID in the middle of all this. Yes, we launched the brand, but I can tell you we never quit thinking about what we were doing here. So
well,
a lot of changes.
Yeah, in fact, I think an argument could probably be made that it gave you an opportunity to go over it again and make sure you were responding to changes in the market, because we all knew, I say this 1,000 times on the show, COVID didn't create new trends. It accelerated trends that were already in the marketplace. And what that meant was stuff that we thought was 5-10 years down the road was suddenly smacking us in the face. So you may be preparing for one thing, but all of a sudden the way people are living and acting and behaving and working is a little bit different than it was in 2020.
Yeah, and one of the things, when I say over 50% GOP, Wood Spring for sure. I mean, we could say that every time all of our customers out, all of our potential customers, because it does to go there every time. Right. And literally, it's a really solid investment. We don't have any open yet, besides this one. It's only been open, 2 weeks now, I guess. So we'll see where this comes in, but it was designed to be similar to our Wood Spring product, and that was really critical.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you mentioned, Glenn, in terms of why we're so bullish and where we really feel the tailwinds are coming is some of those trends that you're talking about are accelerating, right? The work from anywhere, the kind of relocation that you're seeing happening, a housing shortage, right? People who are renovating even, right? Because they want to live in their spaces, that space is so important. We really feel good about that. And when you look at kind of the macro picture of the demand versus supply, there's 2 times the demand and there is actually purpose-built extended stay supply. So there's a ton of room for choice to really grow into this space. And particularly, I think, when we see kind of the acceleration of the onshoring, some of the manufacturing, and some of those other infrastructure bills that got passed, right? There's just a lot out there that really makes us think that we're going to be pretty successful in this space.
Yeah, we're having a lot going on in South Florida right now too. So, maybe hopefully everybody's safe down there and we can get these hotels back open that are in dire needs. I think we fared pretty well from what I hear. I don't think we have any that are completely closed. However, this is actually designed for situations where we can come in after a hurricane or something to provide housing for those that have to rebuild all that. So our history has shown that our hotels typically do very well in areas where there's some natural disaster. So we are fulfilling a big need.
Now, when you say doing very well, obviously you mean they're able to fulfill a commitment to the community and all of that. But I'm also thinking of it in the structure itself. What's it like trying to create buildings that work well here in the California desert versus an atmosphere that's Florida versus New England or something like that? How does that all come together for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we spend a lot of time with the experts, right? So we definitely have extended stay experts that work on our prototypes, but then also when you think about everything that's in the room and the durability of that and the longevity of those materials, that has to work both outside and inside, and to your point, in every climate. So that's a really critical part as we start to piece this all together and say, well, will this hold up to the humidity in Florida? Will this hold up to the cold and the ice in New England? So everything that we do, even LVT, right? We want to make sure that it can work absolutely everywhere. So we definitely rely on some of our third-party partners that are truly experts in some of this design.
And we're targeting this for high occupancy, right? This is targeting over 80% is what we target. So in order to do that, this room's rented about every day, right?
Yeah.
And every room in the building. So this is what we need to focus on. So in order to do that, we do many of the things that Anna just mentioned.
So what's the number of employees that are required to operate this property?
Yeah, so in mid-scale and in Everhome specifically, we're targeting between 11 and 12 full-time employees.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so in contrast, right, one of our wood springs, you might have 6 to 7.
Yeah.
So it's slightly more, but it's still a super efficient labor model, particularly with as long as saying, yes, you need less housekeeping labor. Our marketplace is fully technology enabled, so you don't need somebody kind of watching over that either. So every kind of piece of that labor model was thought through as well with the design and the prototype.
Yeah, I like that. There's a computer in that area, so you can just type in exactly what you got, and you're good to go.
Anna says 11, but I like to say 11 and a half people.
Yeah.
So we have 6.5 for our wood spring. So doesn't that kind of create a lot of questions?
I think that questions that are too complicated for us to answer on this particular show. Listen, I know this torso that's looking for work, so if you want to hire me today, that'd be great. What's the development community thinking these days? Because as I mentioned earlier, Logic Econometrics is 35% of all new build hotels are in this extended stay segment. So obviously, the attention of the development community is on here. How are you looking to win deals on these properties without letting them go to all these other companies that are not very focused on this category?
That's right. And listen, there's no secret. It's a tough time.
Yeah, right.
Build a hotel, financing, interest rates. Our construction costs are up, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
However, I think what we've tried to do is develop a product that can be built efficiently at a lower cost than our competitors, but yet kind of fill the need of where we are. So as we come out of this slump we're in, I don't think I'm saying it's a recession. We've not really felt that extended stay, quite honestly. We continue to see record growth in our area. However, we want to keep that. We're not sitting back and waiting for it. We want to continue to keep this product in front of all developers. And as it comes out, they're going to look at, I think, extended stay first. So we already got our core people. Yeah. Now how do we get these other hoteliers to come in?
Yeah. The other thing that's really special about Choice is that we have different and extended stay, right? So we have dedicated resources where it matters and where it makes an impact. We have dedicated local sales. We have dedicated performance support, dedicated brand management, dedicated operations, dedicated call center agents. I mean, everything about the model is different. So if you don't have the right kind of infrastructure in place to actually be successful and show the type of performance that we have at Choice, I think that makes a very big difference. We have very proven brands with very proven exits, so we know what we're doing.
That's a really good point, because what I'm observing right now is people are jumping into this and then treating these assets as if they're a transient type of a property, and that's going to mess up the economics. So it's good to know that you have all of that support in order to do it. But do you have to go through that with people that are planning to develop it to make sure they really understand that they got to stick to their guns for what this category is? Yeah,
one of the things that our slogan is simple done better. But I also say to a developer for the first time, it's very difficult to keep it simple.
Right.
And you really do have to focus on following our model. Don't do more. Don't do the continental breakfast. We're not allowing them to do that. When we do, we require management companies that we approve at every property, and we do that for a reason. We're protecting the investor and our guests to make sure they get the consistent experience. So that's part of it. The other issue is our developers want kind of a hands-off situation and investment, if you will, especially the private equity group. So we have management companies that kind of take over and they do things consistently time after time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big piece of it. I don't think there's a secret there that we have some of the best management companies that are very focused on just extended stay. So they truly understand the operating model and how to make sure that they're delivering on the return for both the owner, but also delivering a very consistent guest experience as well. So I think that's a big part of it. But the other part, I would say, our team is really involved from the start of the sales process and the motions that Ron's team comes through all the way through the construction process. So we worked with Paladin and had meetings with them on a weekly basis, even with HMC, the management company here, to make sure that we could deliver a really good product and a really good experience.
And from what I've learned, because HMC focuses specifically on this particular type of segment, I haven't seen a management company that really focused on just extended stay before. that really interested to me. So you really have that expertise in there taking care of this, initial property out there.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know?
I mean, one thing, HFC, let's just give them one more shout out, because I just think into the management piece, they're looking at several of our first ones. And since they're here, I think we can shout out to them. We have other management companies we really love, of course, but they understand extended stay, they understand the Woodspring brand, and one of our larger developers, but they've really embraced mid-scale and kind of jumped in. And this is new to them too. So we think we're on the right track. As far as just overall what's happening, like I said, we're going to aggressively hit this thing. I think the CEO said a little earlier today, we're going to get this thing to 1,000. We're going to get it there. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can tell you at the rate we're going, we'll be assured that we can. So,
yeah, I think so too. That combined with the overall enthusiasm for this particular category, and of course this great product here is going to help. Any final thoughts?
Well, thank you first for having us.
Well,
I think
it's
been an amazing experience. I think, just to echo kind of Ron's comments, we've got a bright future at Choice Extended Stay. Our pipeline is large. It's, over 360 in the pipe right now.
Yeah.
At the end of Q2, we had almost 500 extended stay hotels. We've got kind of the scale, the expertise. We've got the best team, I would say, in the industry. So we're really looking forward to getting to that 1,000 unit in Everhome, but also I think overall, Choice Extended Stay, we're gonna make waves.
Awesome. Right.
Yeah.
all right. Well, so you need to make sure that you're there on the, let's do a milestone. So 200, you'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we do an exclusive? I don't know if we can do that. But we're going to get there pretty quick. But listen, thank you for your time. You've done a great job of covering Choice and what we're doing. We've got an extended stay collection of hotels. And we just relaunched studios. We have economy. We have mainstay suites. And this is with our Slick brand too. And then we have standalones, Everhome, and of course, Woodspring. So we're excited at what we've done.
And I can't wait to see where else you're going to go. I mean, don't quote me on this, but 2-3 years from now, those can be an announcement of the upper end of the category. But we'll deal with that in 2025.
You could have to cut that piece out.
Yeah. That's just my guess. What do I know? You know what I do know, everybody, that if you're watching us, why not check out the audio version of our podcast? Of course, we're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, wherever you get your shows. We are there. And if you happen to be listening to us right now, why not give us a shot? You watch us. We are very gorgeous people. Well, they are, not me so much. But go ahead, give us a watch. Find it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on NoVacancyNews.com, on YouTube, on your grandmother's refrigerator. Coming next week. We're excited about it. Thank you so much. Remember, everybody, you got one life, so blaze on. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, man.